Hi everyone, so this will be my review on a new fragrance from Bath& Body Works called Sweetheart Cherry. This came out during the 2024 Valentine's Day collection, and I got my hands on the fine fragrance mist, and these are my thoughts. So just to give some background information, here is the really pretty packaging. I like how the nozzle is a black color. I would have liked if the lid was also maybe like a red. And to me, this packaging, because it has a bunch of kind of clip art type cherries, it reminds me a lot of like Betsy Johnson and those purses, handbags, and stuff that you can find at like Ross, TJ Maxx, and stuff. It's very like girly, childlike, early 2000s, that type of feel. So just to give you a note that these are rewards eligible, so they are $16.95 for the fine fragrance mist, so they're not the higher price point of $17.50, $18.95. You are able to use a reward if you have one. The scent notes on the back are wild cherry, crushed pistachio with vanilla. So the first thing, at least what I was thinking or questioning when I saw this fragrance was, is it a repackage of something? And to me, if you're asking me if it's a fragrance that Bath & Body Works has come out with, I would say no. I think it's its own unique thing. So initially when I had smelled it, it reminded me a little bit of Black Cherry Merlot, but now that I'm thinking about it, it's not Black Cherry Merlot because I have the candle right here. I never purchased the body care just because it wasn't a scent that I pictured myself wearing a lot. This one doesn't have the scent notes, but I have the scent notes here. So to compare the scent notes for Black Cherry Merlot, those are wild black cherries, velvety red wine, juicy red raspberries, and bright plum. So if you can tell right away, the main difference is that Black Cherry Merlot obviously has no nuttiness. It doesn't even have an added creaminess. It's just a straight, deep, dark, almost like if you think of like what wine would smell like with all the medley of fruits. So whereas Sweetheart Cherry, that's the main fruit that you get. You just mainly get the cherries. It's not mixed with any plum. It's not mixed with any raspberries or anything like that. But let me describe what Sweetheart Cherry is. I wore it for a day and I have my opinion on it. Straight up on the opening, I get a super juicy, and I think initially I thought of Black Cherry Merlot just because Black Cherry Merlot, it reminds me of like a black cherry that's dripping in sauce. It's super ripe. Juice, it's super ripe. Whereas Sweetheart Cherry, it's the same cherry, just change out the dark cherry for a red cherry, but it's so red and ripe that it almost gave me a little bit of a black cherry, less that tartness that you would find in a I guess the black cherry that's almost a little bitter. This one, it's super juicy, but there is like a tad bit of like just a hint of tart, but it's not overwhelming. It is sweet, but it's not as deep as the cherry in Black Cherry Merlot. But okay, it initially reminded me of that because of that opening. Regardless, I think the weird part about this fragrance is the combination between the scent notes, and I think it's the fact that with the cherry, I feel like it's trying to be a fruity scent. However, you're trying to mix that with a gourmand scent note, which is the pistachio and the vanilla. And when you combine the two, it doesn't quite work out. I feel like if the cherry was less juicy, which I know some people like super juicy, like fruity fragrances, but something that's so fruity in my mind doesn't really work with pistachio and vanilla. It's like a weird combo. I like it, but I feel like the cherry should have been like a baked cherry, much like sugar cherry crisp. That one is like a caramelized, baked in the oven, or baked in like a skillet type of a cherry. Whereas this one, it's just fruity, super bright, juicy, and you're trying to mix that with a gourmand, which makes me think like a bakery note, or like a nut fragrance. So they kind of like clash in a way, and they don't quite work out, at least to me. And the unfortunate part is that, in my opinion, this is a kind of light scent. It's not unscented. We're not talking like Vanilla Bean Noel. We're not talking like warm vanilla sugar, like lightly scented, but it's like not the best at the performance. And what I mean is that I wore this to work today. I wake up like around 6, and then when I sprayed this, it was 7 a.m. So how I did it is that I sprayed myself a total of 13 times. So it was really cold. So I had on my heat tech, which was my undershirt. I sprayed 3 on my chest, 3 on my left arm, 3 on my right arm, 1 on my back. I put on a sweater, and then I sprayed myself 3 more times. So 13, right? And so at this point, typically when my sister and I commute to work together, she's able to smell me, or I say, hey, what do you think about my fragrance? She can pick up what I have on, and she couldn't tell that I had a fragrance on, and this was not even like, what, 20 minutes after I sprayed. So it was very light. So unfortunately, like, no one could smell that I had a fragrance on. So I feel like that would not be the case if I had sprayed Sugar Cherry Crisp the same amount of times as I did the Sweetheart Cherry fragrance. And that's another thing that I didn't necessarily like. I feel like this is one of the fragrances, though, that you are able to just like spray multiple times. I don't think it's gonna build on it. I feel like you need to really like try to make this fragrance last. So we're talking like put on your body lotion, put on your body oils, and just buy the complete set. So I don't think this is one of those fragrances that you can just buy the fine fragrance mist and get away with spraying yourself a few times. You have to either drench your clothes, they're soaking, you let them dry out a little bit, or you have to have layers to your fragrances, where I think typically people do that, but I am able to, with some of my Bath & Body Works fine fragrance mist, I'm able to just purchase the fine fragrance mist and I'm good. And this isn't one of those scents. So unfortunately, that's the qualm about this. All right, so another fragrance that I feel like this really reminded me of was the Tom Ford Lost Cherry a little bit. I never purchased the original because that's too expensive, but I have a bunch of dupes. So here we have 2 of them that I purchased. So we have the Mimic 79 and the Lovely Cherry from Maison Alhambra, if I'm saying that correctly. So the scent notes, let's go to Lovely Cherry on the left. The top notes are bitter almond, rose. Mid notes are cherry, black cherry. Base notes are tonka bean, toffee, and Peru balsam. So this reminds me a little bit more, if I had to choose between Lovely Cherry and Mimic 79, it reminds me the most of Lovely Cherry because I think that pistachio note is like that nuttiness from the pistachio can also be attributed to the almond in Lovely Cherry. Granted, there's more notes in here. There's like a little bit of woodiness plus a floral note that isn't present in Sweetheart Cherry, but it gives me a little bit of that same feeling of those 2 scent notes that they share. Whereas Mimic 79, I feel like that one's a little bit too different, also because it has more scent notes. Like, it's slightly more complex. To me, I feel like the Mimic 79 leans a little bit more floral on my clothing, or on me personally. So the Mimic 79 scent notes, top notes are sour cherry, bitter almond, and liqueur. Middle notes are sour cherry, plum, Turkish rose, and jasmine sambac. Base notes are tonka bean, vanilla, Peru balsam, cinnamon, benzoin, sandalwood, clove, cedar. Wow, yeah, that's a lot. But let me bust out the scent that I feel like I wanted this scent to be, and it wasn't really executed as great. Oh, I think before I bring that one out, someone had mentioned that Everlasting Magic was similar to the cherry note in one of these fragrances. I don't know, but somehow Everlasting Magic came up. So I feel like Everlasting Magic is too perfumey to be Sweetheart Cherry. And the fragrance notes to that are bejeweled berries, phantom petals, magic musk. There's way too much musk, and this is way too I was gonna say putrid, perfumey to be a Sweetheart Cherry. Plus, I feel like the berry note is a little bit more varied. Like, it's not just cherries. The scent that I really wanted this to smell very similar to was Sugar Cherry Crisp. Now, Sugar Cherry Crisp came out during the fall collection of 2020, and this was like the perfect fragrance if you love cherry fragrances. So this one does not have the scent notes. It's quite old, so it has become a little bit more alcoholic. But the scent notes are bright cherry delight, crumbled graham cracker, spun vanilla sugar. So it shares the cherry note plus the vanilla aspect, I guess. It does not have a graham cracker, the Sweetheart Cherry. But what I really like about it is that this one really lasted on me. I have it sprayed on me right now. And when I tell you that I can smell Sugar Cherry Crisp a lot more than I can Sweetheart Cherry, yeah, I'm just a little bit bummed. But I feel like overall Sweetheart Cherry isn't blind buy safe. Now, I think it's nice enough where I'm okay with just purchasing one of them. Well, I didn't purchase it. I used a free reward on it. Do you necessarily need it? I would say no. But if you want my honest opinion, why I feel like there's a lot of good reviews on it is that I feel like there's been a lot of like mediocre scents that have been brought out by Bath and Body Works. So I feel like when you have something that's a little bit like decent, I feel like then people are like, yeah, this is like great and awesome. But if I were to ask myself if this came out during the other like bake shop collections, I think Sweetheart Cherry would be the least favorite one. So if we're talking like if Sweetheart Cherry came out with, let's see, the bakery collection of 2020. If this came out with confetti cake pop, margarita cupcake, strawberry pound cake, and this one would be like towards the bottom. Not a lot of people liked margarita cupcake, but I personally did. Or let's say it came out during the other Valentine's Day collection of raspberry jam donut, coconut cream pie, what else? Chocolate covered cherries, and Sweetheart Cherry. This would be the least favorite, at least in my opinion. But since it's been a bunch of like, I don't know, the well has been dry with gourmands. So since this fragrance came out and it's pretty like halfway decent, I feel like people like it. But you know, that's just me. You can feel free to disagree. But overall, I do like the scent. I think it's a weird combo, but I think it's one of those things where I think the more you spray it, the more you like it. So I wouldn't write it off completely. I think if you do not like cherry scents, you're going to hate the opening of this because it's just full on cherry, but that quickly dissipates. I want to say that this almost immediately dries down into a nutty like pistachio-ness, but yet there's like a lingering bit of cherry juice that stays on to whatever like fabric or skin you spray this on. So I think that's like the slight weirdness that I get. I feel like the cherry had to have been a little bit more cooked or gourmand, like how Sugar Cherry Crisp was. Miss it. I need to hurry up and use this because I feel like it's turning more and more alcoholic, or it's not going bad, but it's like starting to degrade. But yeah, those were all my thoughts and opinions on Sweetheart Cherry. I do think that this is one of the fragrances that aren't blind buy safe, so be sure to go in person if you can, or if not, Bath and Body Works has a generous return policy. So yeah, would I get a backup of this or recommend it? I would. Oh, how desperate am I for this? I think I would like the scent a little bit more in home fragrance. So we're talking like a candle, a wallflower, a soap. I feel like body care would be my least favorite. Am I going to use this? Yes. Is this going to be like the first cherry fragrance that I reach for if I had, like, out of all the ones that I have? I would say no. First one would definitely be Sugar Cherry Crisp. All right, last question. Would I recommend this? And I would, but I would say to maybe manage your expectations a little bit. This is very juicy, but if you like it for the juiciness in the opening, it's not going to linger on the whole day. So I would say that if you like pistachio fragrances, then I would say go for this. At least on me, on my clothing, it leans a little bit pistachio, but it's very light. So this is probably a spray that you're going to have to reapply. So yeah, those are my overall thoughts and opinions on the Bath & Body Works new fragrance called Sweetheart Cherry that came out for the Valentine's Day 2024 collection. Let me know if you have any questions, and hopefully you like this scent. Just because I think this fragrance is kind of like whatever, that doesn't mean that you won't fall in love with it. Or it could be that, for example, if you just recently got into Bath & Body Works, let's say 2023, 2022, their gourmand selection has been like very slim. So this could be that, like, hey, you don't have any prior experience with their other gourmand fragrances that Bath & Body Works has brought out with, and you personally really like this. So I would say, yeah, give this a try. It's worth a shot. Is it worth $16.95? No. Is it worth buy 3, get 3? I would say yes for some people who don't want to wait for the semi-annual sale, especially because I feel like there's a lot of hype around this fragrance. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Okay, bye.